Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Yuma in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling start to your tune-up Tuesday. Yes, we're on Tuesday already. Can you believe it? It's going to be a hot one here today, like 102. But as soon as I get this done, I'm heading down the office to finish my registration and get all checked in and everything else, and then laundry, because I did not get laundry done at the other campground. So poor Zephyr will get left behind in the RV for a couple of hours. She's already been out, had a run in the dog park. So she's now snoozing, I think. Can't quite see. She's laying in her bed with her head up, but I'm not sure if her head's resting on the edge of the bed and she's just looking out the window and snoozing, or whether she's just watching out the window. But she's up there at the moment. So today's Tune-Up Tuesday. Today is about notice, appreciate, and multiply. And that happens to be out of this book, Think Positive and Live Happy. They've got one in there, it's called Notice, Appreciate, Multiply, which is kind of cool, because I was reading through it and I thought, oh, this would be perfect for Tune-Up Tuesday, because it talks about just making that slight change and the abundance that can flow from just a slight tweak. So it's a tune-up. On the music side, I don't know, what did we do? We did musicals we did soundtracks from the 70s last week, didn't we? Maybe we'll do soundtracks from movies from the 80s this week, because there were some good movies that came out in the 80s that had some amazing soundtracks. Yeah, I think I'll do that one. Yep, so I'm gonna write that one down. 80s soundtracks. So look at what movies came out in the 80s and what soundtracks did they have, and rock out to those today. Okay, so notice, appreciate, multiply. The quote that goes with it is from Catherine Mansfield. I know that name. She was a good author. Yeah. Could we change our attitude, we should not only see life differently, but life itself would come to be different. By Catherine Mansfield. She was a Kiwi. You can actually tour her birthplace in Wellington. There you go. Another little known fact for you. So she's responsible for today's quote, which is, could we change our attitude, we should not only see life differently, but life itself would become different. Would come to be different. So yeah, that's our Tune-Up Tuesday quote. And I need a haircut again. So here's today's thing on notice, appreciate, and multiply. One of my favorite movies is Pollyanna, the story of an orphan sent to live with her crotchety maiden aunt. I love that movie. I loved actress Hayley Mills' portrayal of Pollyanna, and what I loved in the movie even more was the glad game. Pollyanna's missionary father taught her to find something to be glad about in every situation. Maybe that's where I learned all this positivity stuff, because I loved that movie. I can't tell you how many times I watched it as a kid. The point was to look at what was wrong, or perhaps not optimal, and find the silver lining. Oh my gosh, I have done that so much. The glad game starts with a negative and finds a positive. I felt that was how I lived. When dealing with adversity, I often said to my husband, aren't we lucky? I would ask Brad, we're so blessed. We always found a way through. I was by nature optimistic. I tried to see the best in any situation, to the point that more than one person derisively called me Pollyanna. I don't think anybody's called me Pollyanna. I have to work on that one. In my 50s, life took a lot of sudden twists and turns. My marriage ended. My child experienced a life-threatening medical issue. I had breast cancer and my mother died. There was not a great deal to be glad about. Life was challenging, almost bleak. For a long while, it was about getting through the next day. Sometimes it was about getting through the next hour. And I have counseled so many caregivers on that one. Sometimes you just got to get through the next hour. Sometimes down to the next minute. Sometimes you just got to say, get me through the next 10 seconds. Whatever it is that gets you through, and you literally sit there and watch the clock, the hand on the clock ticking around to count that minute off, or count those 10 seconds off. Okay, made it through this 10 seconds. Let's go for 20. And just keep expanding it each time. I made it through 20 seconds. Now I can make it through 30 seconds, and just keep doing that until you can finally feel yourself take a breath. Once my son's and my health stabilized and the divorce was final, I was faced with choosing how I wanted to live my life. In truth, I had no desire to look at the bad even for one more second. I changed my thinking. Instead of focusing on different things and trying to find something good in them, I focused I focused on noticing good already present in my life. I started small. When I woke up, if the sun was shining and cast beautiful shadows on the wall, I stopped and appreciated it. See, it's just the little change. See, in this one here, she started with something small. That's all you got to do on a tune-up, is just make slight tweaks here and there. If I was thinking I'd like to go out to lunch and a friend called and asked to do just that, I took a moment to appreciate that and be grateful for it. While most of the good things were not connected to wealth or money, I began to feel quite rich, which is true. The more you feel grateful for things, the richer you feel. Even if your bank account doesn't reflect it, you've still got a rich, abundant life. And the feelings was cumulative. The more I noticed the little things, the more I appreciated small gifts or pleasures placed in my path. The more there seemed to be. I began to share these occurrences. I called them abundances with my friends. One friend in particular would often start our phone conversation by saying, "So tell me, what were your abundances today?" I appreciated my friend's questions because it made me aware of how many things I had to be grateful for that day. I began to write them down, to notice and appreciate the quality, and to have them on hand in case I was having an off day where I felt deprived or lacking. Rereading my notations would refresh my spirit. I decided to dedicate a journal to documenting my abundant life. How cool is that? Love that. It was fun. I chose a beautiful sunny yellow journal and treated myself to a set of good quality markers. I used a two-page spread, opening the book flat, and sketched a small heart design across the crease. In the center, I wrote the name of the month and the word gratitude. Each night of that month, I would sit down with my markers and my thoughts and write down what I remembered from that day. I switched pens for each memory, making for a beautiful, colorful page. At the end of the month, I had perhaps 40 or 50 notations. Rereading them gave me great joy. I call it a happiness journal. I actually have a happiness journal, and I have, as you all know, I don't believe in using black pens. I use, look at my colors, hang on, got to get them all in my hand. I have different colored pens. I've got two full colored pens somewhere around here too as well, and highlighters and markers, and I believe in color. And my happiness journals, every time I see a quote that really strikes me and makes me happy, I write it in my happy journal. So she's doing a gratitude, what does she call it? Jeepers, wonder what that was for a second. Got a plane going over here. So she started with her gratitude, she had her abundance journal. And she would do that with her abundance journal, with different colors and everything else. I have a happiness journal. In fact, when I left my cancer caregivers group in Virginia back in 2010, I gave them each a bag. And in that bag was a notebook with blank pages and a box of colored pens for each person, all different colors in there. And I'd explain to them, this is your happiness journal. And I'd actually written a happiness note in the front of each journal to start them off. So this thing where she writes out her gratitude, starting off with the yellow sunny journal, writing with different colored pens, each thought and everything else, that's exactly what I do with my happiness journal. And in there it also goes things that I appreciate as well. So it's kind of, a quote that strikes with me and gives me a sense of joy or happiness, or makes me happy, goes in there. And every time I have to write a new thought, it's a different color. And so it makes it a very colorful page. So it's a small tweak, a small change, a small tune-up. So anyway, carrying on, she said, the next month I decided to carry my journal with me, noting the things I had to be grateful for as they occurred. Well, that's a good idea. This resulted in a much higher number of notes, perhaps double. The more I wrote, the more there seemed to be. My mindset switched from lack to abundance. I felt rich, blessed, successful, safe, and sheltered. I have been keeping the abundance journal for several years now. Instead of a 2-page spread, each month has expanded to 4 or even 6 pages. I have begun to write smaller, so there are more notations per page. My abundances have multiplied tenfold. My life is peaceful and joyful. The more I notice and appreciate my abundances, the more I receive. When I hit those bumps in the road that we all experience, I reach for my journal and read. And I can be glad again. It seems my inner Pollyanna is back. And that was written by Jude Walsh. Again, from the book, Think Positive, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Think Positive, Live Happy. And this one was Notice, Appreciate, Multiply. So, if you're listening through the story there, she just made little tweaks, just little tune-ups to flip her mind from those bleak things to the positive things, because she'd always been an optimist, always been a positive person. That was the same with me. You know, I had gone through different challenges in my time, but at the time I didn't appreciate them. Looking back, I appreciate the experiences I went through. Some of them I don't like the fact I had to go through them, but I appreciate the lessons that I learned during that time and the abundance that has happened since then. So today is all about, you know, tuning up, making those small tweaks. So grab a journal, grab some colored pens, and start writing out. And every time you write a new thought, you want a different color. And just make it blank pages, so you can, it doesn't matter, there's no lines, you don't have to write on, although there will be some people that have to list it, and I totally get that. But for us free thinkers, you know what to do. Turn the journal upside down, sideways, inside out, back to front, up, whatever, and just write whatever you're grateful for all over the pages. But I like her idea of carrying it with her. I'm going to have to start doing that, because I don't do that. But yeah, I like that idea, that she has a page for a month and writes down all the blessings for that month. Might have to start doing that. So, you know, it's, again, making those little tweaks, and those little tweaks make the big changes later on. So always start small. It's like when you're in business, you turn around and go, oh, I want this business to be successful. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. Yes, that is a great goal to achieve, to go for, but you need to start small. It always starts with the first step. Don't make it a big step that you've got to take, because sometimes that big step could be too big that it shatters everything. You just want that small first step. The small first step could be, okay, I've got my idea, I've written out my business plan, everything else, now where do I start? So that first small step could be, I need a business name. Take that one step. And it doesn't matter if you get the business name now or later on, as long as you got it by the time, you know, I mean, I launched my genealogy business with no name. I got challenged to do what they call a dirty launch within 7 days. That I had to have, well, actually no, it was even less than 7 days, because they issued me the challenge on Saturday and I had to have it completed by Friday, and I had it done by Wednesday. And it was a dirty launch. It was basically making a Google form for people to fill out, directing people to that Google form to fill out if they were interested in learning more about their genealogy and wanting to set up a discovery call. So that was a first small step. It was a dirty launch. We had no name of the business at the time. By Wednesday we did, but even if I had done the dirty launch without the name of the business, it wouldn't have mattered. I didn't even have a website set up or anything else. Like I said, I started it with a Google form. That was how I started it. I had no name, I still don't have a logo, and the name's changed. So we've still got Your Family Tree Detective, but we've also got Genealogy Detective as well. And because the website's set up with yourfamilytreedetective.com, we've left that as it is, but directing genealogydetective.co to that website. So yes, so there's been a lot of changes gone on since then, and we've got a group we're starting up called Funky Family Tree Detective, where we make digging around your family tree fun. So there's all sorts of fun stuff that and they were all done small incremental steps. Did we have to make changes on them? Absolutely. We had to tune things up so it would make it more attractive to people and not such a long-winded name. And there's lots of things that we've done along the way to make changes, but the original thing got started on a Google form. No business name, no logo, no website. The website came later. The name came, I think, the day we did the dirty launch. Was it the day we did that launch? Might have been a few days later. I can't remember if we had it at the time that we did the launch or not. It was around the time that we did the launch that we got the name, and bought the domain name and all of that. And then it was like another 2 or 3 weeks before the website was up and running. I still don't have a logo for the business, and we started that back in May. I think it was April, May. We started that back in April or May. Must have been April, because I was still in Florida at the time. So sometime in April we started that business. I still don't have a logo for the business. So, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row to start a business. It's taking that first small step towards getting it started. So it could be something like creating a Google form just so people can have a discovery call about the business. You don't have to have a name for it. You don't have to have a logo for it. You don't have to have a website. You start with a Google form. That's simple. So yeah, it was. It's been interesting launching that business because it was done without a business plan. All it was this is my idea, and somebody challenged me to do a dirty launch within 7 days. So I did. Still working on the business plan. You know, so you don't have to be perfect. I always get told production before perfection every single time, because if you wait for perfection, it ain't gonna happen. So it's production before perfection every time. And yes, you're going to have to make tune-ups along the way as you go. You're going to have to tweak your processes. I mean, I didn't even have processes written out at the time either when I started the dirty launch. So I've got some procedures and processes in place. I'm still working, fine-tuning them and everything else. So the fine-tuning is still going on, which is what Tune-Up Tuesdays is all about, is going in and making those little tweaks and changes. What else do I need to do? What's the next step that I need to do? So that's basically it. And don't forget, your musical challenge for today is to rock out to the 80s soundtrack. Last week we did the 70s soundtracks. We did soundtracks from movies released in the 70s. This week we're doing soundtracks from movies released in the 80s. What songs are you going to rock out to this week? So let us know in the comments below. Have a super fantastic sparkling Tune-Up Tuesday. Go out there, get your abundance journal, and do what was suggested. You know, just write down every time you've got some abundance that happens to you, which is something to be grateful for. Just write it down in there. Use different colors. Yes, if you are one of those list people, you can do it as a list. If you are a free thinker and a free flower thing, you're going to be all over the pages, and that's perfectly fine too. However you want to do it in the journal, do it. Just start. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. It doesn't matter if you change your methods later on. Just start. Take that first step. Make the tweaks and changes as you go. Do not wait to have the perfect plan, the perfect marketing plan, the perfect advertising scheme, the perfect CRM or anything like that. Work on it as you go. Just get started. Production before perfection, because those that wait for perfection will never get started. Never. Never. It doesn't happen, because no business is perfect. There's always tweaks and changes being made. Even to those businesses that seem to be perfect, they're still making tweaks and changes to them. We just don't know about them. But there are tweaks and changes going on the backside with procedures and policies and flow charts and diagrams and all that sort of stuff. So there's breakdowns that occur. They then have to come up with how do we get around this breakdown and make it a breakthrough, all that sort of thing. So go out there, have a super fantastic sparkling Tuesday, rock out to the soundtracks from the 80s, and we will catch you guys later today. Hei konera.